As you can see here, the title of today's presentation and the first episode of Facebook Live Kids Edition is Bear Hardware, the Teeth and Claws. And so the first question here, so what type of eaters are wild black bears? I'm sure many of you may know. However, there's probably equally as many that may not know. Oftentimes, the way bears are depicted, people may think that they're strictly carnivorous or they're meat eaters, carnivores. And so we're going to get into that, and we're going to hopefully be able to, teach some folks about black bears and specifically how they use their teeth and claws. So first up, I have listed here 3 different types of eaters. We have carnivores. So those are your animals that are going to eat strictly meat, have meat diets. When I think of carnivores, I think a lot about like the big cats of the world. So they're strictly carnivorous. You think about lions and cheetahs and leopards. When you think of herbivores, you think about all of those animals that eat vegetative matter or vegetation, plants and such. And then you have omnivores, so they're a mix. They not only like to eat and prefer meat, but they also include plants within their diet.
All right, and then along with the different kinds of eaters, there are 3 different main types of teeth when we're thinking about these eaters. So we have the canines, which are the sharp teeth used for tearing and ripping meat. Molars, which are all the way in the back, and those are the flat teeth used for grinding vegetation as well as like nuts and berries. And then we also have incisors, which are the very, very front teeth used for making that initial cut into the food. A good way to remember that is incisors sounds like scissors, and so those teeth are used to make that initial cut into food.
We're going to circle back to the original question. What type of eaters are wild black bears? And I have a video here, and I enlisted the help of my 7-year-old son, my eldest son, Colton, my junior biologist. I thought it would be really neat to have a description of bear teeth and diet coming from a child's perspective. So he was my little helper. Bear in mind that I worked from about 7 a.m. till 9:30 p.m. last night, and Colton was tired when we started this, and so was I. You may see a few funny things. One, Colton yawning several times, and the hat that I'm actually wearing has a tag hanging off the back, and at moments it looks like I have a long tract of hair. So just kind of a funny little blooper there. But with all of that, I'm going to hit play on this video, and while the videos are playing, we have several embedded within this program. We will not be talking or able to answer any questions, so just bear with us throughout the duration of those times. Hello, everybody. So today we're fortunate to be here with a junior biologist, and his name is Colton Blair, and this is actually my oldest son. I also have a son named Landon, and so today Colton's going to be here with us, and he's going to help walk us through some of the 3 different types of teeth that we're learning about today. And so we'll get started with that. And here with us today, we actually have a bear skull. So this is an actual skull that came from a black bear. And this bear died of some cause. And so oftentimes when things like that happen, for education purposes, we're able to use different parts of animals to help educate adults and children alike. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. And just looking at this skull right here, I mean, wow, look at all these teeth. My thoughts are just, what are they used for? I'm sure a lot of you are wondering the same things. And not just that, but do we have similar teeth as humans? And so let's ask our junior biologist here if he could help us out a little bit. So Colton, if I point right here at this sharp little tooth on this skull, can you tell the folks that are watching what kind of tooth is this?
They're canines.
They're canines. That's exactly right. And then if we look at the teeth that are located right here in between these canines on the top and the bottom, what do you call those?
Incisors.
Incisors. That's right. And then we'll flip it right here to the side, and we have some more teeth. And these are bigger and flat. What are these called?
Molars.
Molars. That is exactly right. And so now what we could actually do is we'll get some different types of food. Let's say that a black bear, for instance, may be eaten in the wild. So right here we have some grapes, and these are artificial, or they're fake grapes. But in the wild, bears would have access to these. And so when it comes to eating these grapes, Colton, what kind of teeth do you think that they would go to first to help accomplish that?
They're incisors.
They're incisors, that's right. And so if you think about incisors, an easy way to remember it is incisor sounds a lot like
Scissors.
Scissors. And what do scissors do?
They cut.
They cut. That's exactly right. So they can help pluck these grapes off of these vines. And they could also, let's say, bears, they like to eat a lot of different types of grasses and sedges and things like that, different times of the year, and tender little leaves and things like that. So they could use these incisors as their scissors, per se, to cut and tear off blades of grass or anything like that. They're going to be really helpful for that. So that's pretty cool. But they also have these big old canines that Colton here was telling us about. And if we look at the canines, and also, if I can get it in the video here. So for dinner tonight, part of our dinner was some grilled chicken. And what do you think about eating this grilled chicken? Would they start with their molars?
No.
No. What if, or since I don't have like a deer carcass here, or some kind of dead animal that a bear would definitely be eating on in the wild, what type of teeth would they use to rip and tear meat?
They would use their incisors and their canines. Their canines would be used to rip apart the meat, and then their incisors would be used to just crunch it up and cut it.
To cut it, that's right. And that's how they could kind of pull that meat off of the bone and stuff like that?
They're kind of like the same thing, but different kind of in a way.
They're different, right. So their big canines could stick into that meat, and they would help hold, like a lot of other wild animals that would catch live prey. So if they were chasing a live animal like a deer or something like that, big cats do this all the time. They could use those big canines to kind of grab their prey, right, so that they can't go anywhere. When I think of that, I think about like an African lion or an animal like that chasing down, say a gazelle or something like that over there in Africa. That's pretty cool to think about. Bears, they are known to chase down live prey, but at least here where we're at, and black bears, most of the time they're actually eating on dead animals or plants, yes. But when they do eat meat, it's usually from a dead animal, which what we biologists call carrion. And so we'll get into more of that later when we talk a little bit more about what bears actually eat in another lesson. But the idea here is that these canines, like Mr. Colton here was telling us, they use those to grab the meat and rip it apart, and they can cut it off with their incisors as well. So now let's get back here to these molars. When it comes to those, Colton, tell us real quick, what are they going to use these molars for?
They use it for grinding grass and all that meat up so it gets smaller so they can swallow it.
What about these acorns?
They get it and then they just grind it up. It's really hard, but their molars are really hard, so they grind it up and so it's easy to swallow.
That's exactly right, buddy. So they use those molars to grind things, to grind hard things like different types of nuts, like acorns. And so actually, a bear's, most of their diet is going to be plant material, right? They don't eat as much meat as people would actually think. It's more like 15% meat and about 85% vegetative matter. So vegetation, plants and things like that, berries and nuts. So that's all pretty cool. Do you have anything else to say about a bear skull?
Bears are omnivores.
They're omnivores. That's exactly right. And we just learned about that a little bit ago before we started playing this video here. So we have different types of animals regarding what they eat. So we have herbivores that eat
Plants.
Yep, and we have carnivores that eat
meat only.
Yep, and then we have omnivores that eat
Both.
They eat both. So bears are omnivorous as far as their diet, which means when it comes to what they eat, they enjoy eating a little bit of meat and plants as well. All right, well, I hope you all learned something, and hopefully we can talk Mr. Colton into coming back to another lesson and helping teach a little bit more. So thank you.
Bye.
Biologist there. Hopefully you all enjoyed his lesson that he helped his dad with. And with that, we're going to get into some videos that we put together here demonstrating those specific teeth. And we're going to start with the incisors and what a bear per se would use those incisors to do. And the first video that we have up, and I'll hit play here in a second, is going to show a bear eating an apple. And so if you can think about how you would eat an apple and which teeth that the apple will make contact with first, the bear's going to do the same thing. So, and those are the incisors. And here it goes. Alrighty, again, those teeth that we were highlighting in that particular video were the incisors. So tearing into an apple, you're going to use those scissors, the scissor teeth or the incisors, as Curator Tori was reminding everyone. It's a great example if you think of scissor and incisor. So they use those to cut that apple from the front. So now we're going to transition to the next kind of tooth. And with that, we're now going to look at the canines. So, junior biologist Colton had mentioned how a bear would eat meat using canines as well as their incisors. So, in this video, this male bear from Kentucky, I believe it's back in 2015, will actually demonstrate some to you all using his not only his incisors but his canines. And specifically in this video, he's going to be eating on a deer leg. So if we find the opportunity to provide bears during the right time of the year with meats such as this, we're definitely going to do that. They're going to find these sorts of things in the wild, and we encourage all wild behavior and diet as much as we can. So with that, I'm going to hit play on this video and just pay particular and close attention to how this bear will turn his head to specifically get in there with those canines and rip apart some of the meat from this deer leg. So with that video there, we were demonstrating a black bear's use of molars. And as junior biologist Colton was explaining, these are the teeth that bears are going to use to really grind down hard material, such as acorns or any kind of nut. And so in this particular video that you were watching, this little black bear was eating some peanuts. Oftentimes, if we do not have access to acorns, we will supplement with peanuts just to give them something a little different, especially when it's rainy outside because it doesn't dissolve. And if you can remember from this video, this bear was using those molars so much that he was tilting his head up to get more and more of the peanut mass back into his rear section of his jaws to grind those down.
Again, we want to just highlight bears are omnivores, and for all the kids out there, what kind of eaters do you think we are? Myself and you and your mom and your dad, what kind of eaters are we? So we're going to go through the kind of teeth that we have and see if those match some of those bear teeth we just talked about. So everybody, parents included, if you'd like, I'd like you to open wide and run your tongue along your teeth as we go through the different kinds of teeth we have in our mouth. So in the far, far back, you can feel those very flat, big teeth, and those are those molars we talked about earlier. And so we do have molars just like bears do. Coming up towards the front, we do have canines like bears, which are used for ripping and tearing meat, but our canines are a lot smaller and not quite as sharp as a bear's because our food is more prepared. We don't need quite as big of canines. It would be kind of scary if we all had bear canines like our bears here. And then lastly, we do have those incisors just like bears up in the front, those front teeth that we would use. We saw that video of a bear eating an apple, and just like that bear, we use those incisors to take that first bite into fruits, carrots, all different kinds of foods. So we are in fact an omnivore just like black bears. So getting a little bit more into the science here, bear teeth not only help them eat, obviously, but they also help scientists tell how old a bear is. So just like the rings on a tree, if you can count the rings, that tells you how old the tree is. Bears' teeth are very similar. So this is an example here of a tree trunk. You can see all the lines we have here, and this tree would be 24 years old. And I'm going to walk through with you how bear scientists get to the teeth, how they count the rings on a bear's teeth, and how they count those rings on a tooth and see how old a bear is. So this is an example cross-section of a bear's tooth in a laboratory. And you can see those arrows pointing out the different lines here. And this one's just an example. We'll see how old this bear is. And then I think we have about 3 other examples of teeth that you guys can actually practice at home aging and be bear biologists right from your home. So as you can see how they counted those rings there, this bear was 4 years old. So you might be wondering, how do they count the rings of a tooth? So first, they do have to get the tooth of a bear, and oftentimes scientists do, in a bear workup, will take a very, very small tooth, one that they don't need or use that often. That tooth will go to a laboratory where they'll cut the tooth into really thin sections, and then they stain the tooth with a blue or purple dye just to make those rings stand out a little bit better. And after that, they can age the bear just like we saw in the previous slide. All right, so now I'm going to let you guys try. I think, like I said, we have 3 or 4 examples of bear teeth here, and I'm just going to give you guys probably 15 to 20 seconds to quickly count those rings and take a guess at how old each of these bears are. And if you get it right, please share in the comments, and it can be a little bit tricky, I will warn you. So let's see how good you guys are at being bear scientists. All right, and so let's check in with you guys. That bear is a 7-year-old bear. So that bear was 7 years old, and if you got that right, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. Good job, and we'll go on to our next tooth slide. All right, and that second tooth slide there, this bear was 6 years old. All right, this will be our last practice one for the day. So this one's a little bit tricky, I'll warn you guys. So I'll give you a couple seconds to count those up and see who gets this one right. All right, so this bear was 16 years old, and that's getting a pretty high age for a wild bear. Bears in the wild live to be about 20 years old. They definitely can live longer than that, and bears in captivity have lived well past 30. So next, I'm just going to show some examples of bear teeth from some of the bears that we've had here at Appalachian Bear Rescue. We're just going to flip through some of those and take a look at different kinds of teeth in each bear.
So as we're going through these photos of teeth, we're not really taking measurements or anything as we're releasing bears and bears are coming into Appalachian Bear Rescue's facility. However, we always take teeth pictures. We want to see when they come in versus when they are released, if there are any improvements. And also, if it's a yearling age bear, you can start, or an older cub, you can start to see those canines actually being the baby canines actually being pushed out. So just like many of you kids at home and all you adults when you were little as well, your new teeth came in and replaced those baby teeth. Bears have the same system within inside their mouths, and it's called having deciduous teeth or baby teeth. Some people call it milk teeth. And so when those adult canines come in, we can actually see and have photo evidence of the baby canines being pushed to the side, and they'll eventually fall out and the larger ones coming in. So it's pretty neat. So we always take photos of teeth.
So the first couple that we showed were really good examples of some nice healthy teeth. The next couple we're going to show you, you might notice that these teeth don't look quite as nice. And just like humans, some bears have really nice teeth. Some bears might not have nice teeth, and we'll talk about why that's so important that we as humans have access to, brushing our teeth, dentists. Bears don't always have access to that. Actually, they never have access to that.
So as curator Tori said, these pictures that you're viewing here of bad teeth for bears, oftentimes it's going to be caused by eating things they should not be eating. It will always occur with age, but these are younger bears. So at Appalachian Bear Rescue, we only rehab bears that are less than 2 years of age. And so some of the occurrences of bad teeth that we are seeing shouldn't be happening at that young of an age, which it could be nutrition related. So most of the bears that we receive are starved and emaciated. It could also be related to the food sources that they are seeking or finding. Maybe it's the only thing they could find. And if they're eating out of a trash can, sugary beverages and material things just like you kids, may do sometimes at home. That's why your mother and father are always telling you how important it is to brush your teeth. Otherwise, you'll end up with some teeth like you see in these photos of these younger bears. So definitely make sure that you're following mom and dad's rules on brushing your teeth.
So just like Curator Coy said, we have access to the brushing our teeth, and so we can have really nice teeth. So kids, all be like Bear 252 or Finnegan. He has very nice teeth, as you can see here in this slide.
So, moving along here, other scientific information that biologists can gain just from looking at a bear's tooth. We can actually tell when a bear's had cubs. So if a mother bear's had cubs, there may be evidence lying within a cross section of her teeth. And when we say cross section, it's just a fancy word for basically having a tooth and going across it and cutting it in a fashion to where you can, like if you had a tree and you're counting tree rings, you cut the tree and you look at the stump. We're doing that with a tooth. And then you're able to see those rings or those, the cementum and all of that stuff. So anyhow, it's pretty neat. You can actually tell if a mother bear's had cubs from this. So for those of you who have been watching the whole time here, you noticed that today's episode was titled Bear Hardware, the Teeth and Claws. And we're not going to forget about that second tool that bears have at their disposal, which are claws. So pictured here, this is a bear that was at the University of Tennessee's College of Veterinary Medicine. And as you can see, black bears have some pretty long claws. No, they're nowhere near as long compared to the brown bear cousins of theirs. Black bears are more specialized, have more specialized claws associated with climbing. That's what they do best with their claws, and you'll notice the curvature of their claws. They're short, they're rather short for a bear, and they're curved. And so we're going to get into some more videos and hopefully educate you all on what bears use these claws for. All right, so black bears are great climbers. In fact, from a very early age, not too long after they've actually been born and exit the den in the winter months, they are equipped to climb trees. In fact, black bears are born blind and right at about 8 ounces or the size of a Coke can and furless. But one thing they already have is that they have their claws and they are out. No teeth, but they have claws. So they were made to have claws and made to use them. And this little bear in this video that I'm about to hit play on is going to demonstrate how great of climbers black bears are. So as you can see there, that little bear demonstrated how great of climbers black bears actually are. They were born to be in the trees. So another use of claws for the American black bear is going to be digging, and that also includes digging up at the side of or the base of a stump. And as you may expect, there's a reason they're doing this. It's not just because they're playing. They're looking for what's inside a stump. So in the wild, they're going to be looking for different larvae and insects or insect brood for some added protein to their diet. In fact, they get the majority of their protein comes from insects and their larvae and things of that nature. So this video was actually taken as currently as yesterday, and this bear is going to demonstrate how she uses her claws to rip open a stump. And if you pay close attention, you'll actually see that bears will also use their canines to kind of bite at and tear off larger chunks of woody debris. So there you can see bears use their claws to climb, to dig up stumps, and they even use it to dig holes and find roots. So, this time of the year in the wild, bears that are not at ABR aren't going to have food come flying over the fence like a miracle. They're going to be having to search for it on their own, and whatever they can find that's nutritious and healthy for them, they're going to eat. And oftentimes it requires work, sometimes a lot of it, and they're going to excavate holes in the ground and dig up roots. And that's what this little bear is going to be doing in this video I'm about to hit play on. In fact, this happened yesterday. So this is ABR bear number 299. So it's pretty cool. In the video, you'll see him digging his hole, trying to expose this root. And you'll also, this is another twofer, you get to see him use his teeth. So he's going to use those incisors to really bite at and try to cut on this root.
All right, everybody. So that is the end of our first episode in our Kids Edition for Facebook Live. I just kind of want to leave you all with something to do with your little ones at home and have them, if they participated or watched, have them draw something they learned or draw a bear with their teeth, with their claws. And we would love to see pictures of those on our comment section of this video to know what we helped some little ones learn today. And just kind of a housekeeping thing, we will be having these for the next 7 weeks, every Tuesday at 2 o'clock, just right here on our Facebook. So you can come back in and each one will be about a different thing. Our next topic will be about their noses and sense of smell, which is one of the most fascinating things about black bears, in my opinion.
As Curator Tori was just telling everyone, we will be doing these every Tuesday for the next little bit, and so hopefully we can get all of you back that listened to us today and some more. So you can see posted here is the schedule as we will be doing these kids edition of the Facebook Live episodes. Thank you all. We appreciate everyone, and hopefully everybody learned at least one thing. And with that, this is Curator Coy signing off.
And Curator Tori.